Have you ever felt like your personal growth drives people away? Have you noticed those silent stares, full of judgment, when you start shining brighter? Personal growth isn't just about who you become, but also about who gets left behind. When you begin to stand out, others don't know how to react, and the distance between you grows. Criticism arises, silence sets in, and suddenly, those who should support you seem to disappear. But why does this happen? And how do you deal with this reality? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover here may change how you view your own growth journey. You've likely noticed those glances that seem to follow you, but never say a word. These looks carry something more than curiosity. They carry envy, even if it's silent. The people around you feel that something in you has shifted, but they can't quite grasp how or why. They sense your different energy, the light you now radiate, and it sparks a feeling of inferiority in them, even though that's never your intention. The truth is, your inner growth makes them reflect on what they haven't yet achieved. And this is where envy begins. But rather than congratulating you, they prefer to stay silent, with that look that says more than words ever could. They just don't know how to handle what you've become. The transformation you undergo also triggers an inevitable phenomenon. People start comparing themselves to you. Suddenly, your success and victories become the mirror by which they measure their own shortcomings. This isn't something you can control, but it's something you'll notice more and more. Personal growth brings to light what others try to hide, and this constant comparison begins to eat them up from the inside. It's particularly challenging for those who once considered themselves your equal, as now, to them, you seem to have surged ahead. This comparison makes them rethink their own efforts, often leading to frustration, because they feel they're not achieving the same level of progress you are. The expectations they had of you are crushed by who you've actually become. They projected something onto you, a limited version perhaps, and now they feel uncomfortable with your true greatness. When you begin to show your real potential, those expectations, which once seemed safe and predictable, are destroyed. What was once a path they thought they could walk alongside you has now become a space of uncertainty. It shakes them, and they feel out of place beside you. Have you noticed someone distancing themselves from you after your achievements? Maybe they don't know how to handle the elevated version of who you are today. As you grow, you'll notice that people start to criticize you for seemingly small reasons. This happens because your rise makes them uncomfortable with themselves. The criticisms emerge as a way for them to bring you back down to their level. But don't let this bring you down. These criticisms often have no real basis and reflect more on the insecurities of the critic than on you. It's an attempt to diminish the impact of your growth, a desperate effort to remain relevant in your life. If you've started noticing this, perhaps it's time to surround yourself with people who genuinely support your journey. Subscribe to the channel for more insights on how to navigate these emotional challenges. Success in itself is hard for many to accept, but when it comes from someone they know intimately, the resistance becomes even greater. People resist your growth because it forces them to face their own limitations. For them, it's easier to see you as you were before, someone like them, than to accept that you've evolved into something greater. This resistance can manifest in many ways, from distancing themselves to attempts to undermine your achievements. It's important that you recognize this resistance for what it is, a reaction to their discomfort. not a fair judgment of your success. One of the most painful signs of personal growth is the distance that forms with those you thought would always be by your side. As you advance, many can't keep up. They feel threatened by who you've become, and rather than celebrating your evolution, they choose to distance themselves. This distance can be quiet, almost unnoticeable at first, but you'll feel it growing. This is the price of growth. Not everyone is ready for the journey you've chosen. Have you experienced that feeling of losing people along the way as you grow? If so, share your thoughts below. Over time, you'll find yourself surrounded by people who no longer recognize who you are. To them, who you've become seems strange, distant. They don't understand the choices you make, the paths you take. This creates an invisible pain, both for you and for them. They mourn the version of you that once seemed familiar and predictable, and you, on your side, feel the sting of being misunderstood. This emotional disconnect can be exhausting, but it's part of the process for those who evolve. If this resonates with you, subscribe to the channel for more content that can support you on this journey. As you expand, the gap between you and those you used to know intimately widens. The connection that once felt unbreakable begins to fade, creating an emotional void they don't know how to fill. This isn't your fault, but a natural consequence of growth. The people who don't evolve with you become strangers, and the emotional distance between you grows. You'll notice that conversations become more superficial, mutual interest fades, and suddenly, it feels like you're from different worlds. They're no longer on your level, and that scares them. When you begin to truly shine, many people around you simply don't know how to react. Instead of celebrating your light, they stay silent. This silence can be deafening, because what you expected was support and recognition. But instead, you find an unsettling quiet. It's not that they don't see what you've accomplished. It's that your light is so strong, they don't know how to interact with it. Maybe they feel threatened or simply intimidated. Have you experienced this? Comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. After all the resistance and distance, there comes a moment when even those who criticized you start to acknowledge who you've become. It's recognition that comes too late, often filled with regret for not having supported you from the start. They begin to realize that you are extraordinary, someone who transcended what they had imagined. This recognition, however, comes with a weight. They know they lost the chance to stand by your side when you needed it most. And now, they must face the reality that you moved forward without them.